Hi and welcome to another conversation about changing the way HR is done. Today I'm going to share with you some insights around what to consider when selecting an outsourced HR provider. Now these insights, for many of them, can also be applied to any outsourced provider you might be considering, whether it be in marketing, IT, finance, across a range of disciplines. But specifically I'm going to be focused on HR. Choosing the right partner is so important because getting it wrong is costly. You waste a lot of time, money, damage to your brand, damage to your culture can be enormous if you're not confident in whom you select to work with you to deliver a really integral capability in your organization, and that is to support your people, to optimize your people function so that you can optimize your business outcomes. So there's a few things that I think are imperative when you are out there Googling and searching for potential providers to speak to. And these are some of the things that I want to share with you today. Due diligence has to be a two-way consideration. You know, providers that might work for one business may not be suitable for another. And conversely, some organizations are just not going to suit some providers. So looking at what success is and defining what that means to you is really important before you start conversations. Now, when you're doing your research, there's a few things to look for. One, sector specialization. Does the provider or providers you're considering know your industry? Or do you believe they have enough relevant experience and understanding of your business to be able to add true value? They need to understand the environment that you operate in, the particular nuances that apply to your sector, any protocols, regulations, all of those things that influence your decisions and form the operating landscape with which you work within. A provider that understands that will really leapfrog, helping you get outcomes that are positive for your business. You also want to understand their people. Now, there's a few ways that you can go about doing that. First of all, have a look online. How do they represent themselves on their website? Can you really see what their experience is, what the depth of that experience, what the breadth of that experience across many dimensions of HR? What mix of skills do they have? What mix of grads versus highly experienced people do they have in their team? And also, are they employees or do they offshore some of their functions? Do they subcontract? These are really important things to know. Don't be surprised. Ask the questions around their workforce. You want to be confident in the people that are going to be handling really sensitive information. And you make the decisions based on what's important to you. If working with a subcontractor pool is okay, then it's okay. But if it isn't, know about that before you engage with a provider. A few other things to think about is look at the expertise that you're buying in. Do you have it in-house? Because ultimately, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for two things in an outsourced provider. You're looking for independence so that they can give you pragmatic advice, not emotional advice. And that's the benefit of independence. But you're also looking for expertise that you may not have internally, and it may be costly to resource that internally. So look at, across the provider's team, who do they have that you can draw on? Because that's one of the absolute fundamental benefits when you work with a great outsourced provider is you reap the rewards of the collective experience across their organization. Now with their team, if they haven't already proposed that you meet them, ask. You need to be really confident in the team that they put forward to you, that you can see yourself working with them. You need to know, like, and trust for really good outcomes to be achieved when it comes to working on people strategy. High trust needs to be established because you're dealing with your people. And if you don't have the integral trust in a relationship, you are going to hold back and not really share what's fundamentally important. And that's going to make it harder for your provider to provide the most robust advice that they can give to help you navigate any situation. So meet the team, be confident in whom you're going to be working with, and alternatively, be confident on who's supporting them. When you've got an employee relations matter, or there's something that we want to be looking over the fence around and making sure that we're navigating well, you want to know who's backing those people up. You don't need the highly technical specialists all the time, but when you need them, you want to know they're available to you, and you want to know that they're briefed really well, because ultimately, as the buyer, you want this to be as seamless as possible for you. Other things to consider are your exit clauses. Have a look at the contract. To talk about the contract. If this isn't going well for you, what are the milestones? What are the measurements they're proposing to engage what the work they're doing, what value it's adding? Talk about measurements. Ask them, how are they going to provide metrics to you? What are those metrics, and why they're proposing that they are invaluable for you to be confident in the delivery of the service. But ultimately, it's got a link to your business strategy. If what's being proposed adds no value to you achieving your outcomes, then why do it? Don't adopt HR advice if you cannot correlate that with an outcome you're seeking. So ask about measurements, get clear around that, and also be clear on what your exit clauses are. What do you need to do to advise exit? What is the provider giving you as options? A good provider will be backing themselves. So yes, a contract is needed and is highly advisable, but I question whether you need to be locked down to lengthy contracts without gateways to get out of that if it's not working for both parties. A few other things to think about when you're selecting your outsourced HR provider is their service delivery model. How do they service? How do they service their clients geographically? What are their options to come on site? Ask these questions and think about what's truly important to you. Every organisation is different, and rightly so. So to my last point around that, don't let a provider shape what you think you need to what suits them best. Understand what it is you need and understand your options when it comes to selecting a provider. A good provider should have built-in flexibility to customize a client service delivery model to suit the uniquenesses about your business. That's it from me. Another session on challenging the way HR can be done. I hope you've got great value today, and I look forward to speaking again soon.